All right, everybody, here we go. This video is going to go over the calculator skills you need to be successful in this trigonometry unit. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the 3 different ways you will use your calculator when solving for a missing side or an angle in this unit. So the first one we're going to talk about is what happens when x is on top of your fraction. So all of your problems are always going to be set up whatever trig function you're going to use, sine, cosine, or tangent, the angle always goes right after, and then you're going to be setting it equal to your side over side ratio. Now that depends if you're using sine, cosine, or tangent. Obviously we know that sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. So what are we going to do when x is on the top of the fraction? Now there are 2 ways to do this. You can solve for it algebraically, which means get x by itself. To do that, you would just have to multiply both sides by 10 to get 10 out of the denominator, and there you have it. So now you have x is equal to 10 times the sine of 40. So you would just take your calculator and you would just press 10 times the sine of 40. Close your parentheses, click enter, and there you go. You have 6.4. So the other way to do it is just to memorize where x is. Now, basically, it's your choice. You can solve algebraically or you can just memorize the shortcuts. Really, it's up to you. So if you have the sine of 40 is equal to x over 10, basically you ask yourself, where is x? And if x is on top, then you press times. Okay, and then you just move the 10 to the front, and you just press 10 times the sine of 40. Obviously, it's exactly what we just typed in the calculator, so you're going to get the exact same answer, okay? Another way to do the next one is when x is in the denominator. So again, you could just solve for x. So when x is in the denominator, you know it needs to be moved to the top. So we can just switch those two, and x is going to be equal to 5 divided by the cosine of 20, okay? Just use your calculator. 5 divided by the cosine of 20. Close your parentheses, click enter, and this time we get x is equal to 5.3. Now there is another shortcut for memorizing that, and that's when x is in the denominator. So we had the cosine of 20 is equal to 5 over x. When x is the denominator, press divide. So just like what we did, you just move the 5 to the front and you press the division sign. So 5 divided by the cosine of 20, and we're going to get 5.3. So again, however works for you. You can solve for x every time, or you can memorize the little shortcuts. It doesn't matter to me. As long as you're pressing the right buttons and getting the correct answers, you're good to go. The last one is when x is the angle. So here's the thing. Your calculator, whenever you press sine, cosine, or tangent, it's expecting you to put an angle next. So the tangent of 58, and we're going to get an answer, okay? But when your calculator does not have an angle, you need to tell your calculator that you're going to give it a ratio, and you go back and compute the angle for me, calculator. In order to do that, that's when you press the second button. It's called inverse trig. So in order to find this, we need to take the inverse trig. So that would be tan negative 1 of both sides, which is inverse tangent. That's going to cancel that tangent, and you're just going to have x is equal to inverse tangent of 8 over 12. So we're just going to press second tangent of 8 divided by 12. Close your parentheses, click enter, and you get 33.7 degrees. And you're good to go. Yes, there is a way to memorize that. It's when, if x is second in relationship to picking your trig value, then your angle is equal to your side ratio, you press second. And then you're going to get the same thing, 33.7 degrees. So again, the purpose of this video is not how to set it up. It's just how do you use your calculator to get the correct answers. And if you just watched this entire video and you got different answers than me every single time, then you forgot the first most basic rule of using your calculator. You always have to make sure that you are in degrees. So if you did this and had different answers, that's because you were in radians still. So you need to always check your calculator. If you change the batteries, if you drop it, if you play a game, your calculator always defaults to radians. So if I were you, before every quiz and test, even your homework problems, always check, make sure you are in degrees before you do anything with trigonometry. All right, this is Longo and I'm out. See you, bye.